And of course, this reminder now, the Constitutional Court has upheld the decision of the Independent Electoral Commission to reopen the candidate nomination process. Earlier, the court dismissed the Democratic Alliance's application to have the IEC's decision declared unlawful. Now, the DA was aggrieved after the commission reopened the process after a Constitutional Court order that the elections must take place by November this year and that a voter registration weekend be held. It believes the decision privileged parties such as the ANC, UDM, ACM, PAC and independent candidates that were not able to put in their candidates before registration closed on the 23rd of August. The IEC's candidate registration process will close tomorrow. Let's go here now. Our reporter Natasha Phiri is at the IEC briefing in Pretoria. Let's get an update from her now. Natasha, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I heard you asking quite a number of questions there to the IEC. Perhaps let's talk about the numbers that the IEC has reflected on today, particularly the number of people that have registered since that registration process has closed officially, although the online one is open until midnight tonight. Perhaps unpack those numbers for us, Natasha.
Well, definitely, Unite, and good afternoon to our SABC viewers. Just that important briefing there by the IEC, giving us those figures. 1.7 million people over the past weekend, Saturday and Sunday, had registered to vote. And of course, we know that the province of KZN had the highest number of voter registration activity, followed by that of Gauteng, of which is our province that we're currently situated in, Unite. But of course, just an important announcement for those who didn't get an opportunity to actually go to their voting districts or stations to actually register to vote. People or citizens wanting to vote at the November polls could actually do so online. And of course, since the proclamation, the gazetting of the 1st of November as the election date by the Minister of COGTA, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, that system, the online registration system, will close at midnight tonight. So South Africans who are keen, who actually want to register to vote, have a couple of hours to actually do so. The IEC also touched on those, voters or voting stations, those 9 voting stations that were actually closed due to service delivery protests, saying that it is quite unfortunate, but of course, people within those districts actually have the opportunity to actually vote online. Quite an interesting number. 52% of all those new registration voting or phenomenons, I beg your pardon, were actually female instead of men. Also going to the online portal since July, around 500,000 South Africans have actually used the online portal. I myself have used it. I experienced no glitches whatsoever. But when asking IEC officials about some complaints that were received, as the SABC, I know that a couple of people had complained about the online system, but we heard there Mr. Mamabolo saying that they have actually increased the online capacity, so they anticipate no glitches whatsoever. But I'm actually joined by Mr. Mawethu of the IEC, and of course he'll unpack other details as well of the briefing. Mr. Mazri, thank you so much for always attending to our interviews on the SABC. I mean, quite an interesting briefing as well. This also comes at the backdrop of, the Constitutional Court ruling in your favor, upholding the fact that the IEC was actually correct by opening the candidate nomination system. We heard the DA, it had a briefing earlier on saying that it will be watching you like a hawk. They don't feel vindicated at all by this ruling. Of course, you said as the IEC, you do feel vindicated. Also dispelling a myth or a narrative that's out there that you actually acted in favor of the ANC.
Well, we are satisfied with the registration weekend and its outcome, particularly the active citizens who participated in the registration drive. And obviously, we are now focusing on the road ahead. We have just about 40 days to go to the 1st of November. And obviously, starting today, we encouraging special votes applications. We're encouraging the candidate nomination, which was the subject of the court review. And we are satisfied that the matter has been settled. to say that we acted within the law and within the prescripts in terms of the powers we have as a commission, and therefore we will move ahead. And we appreciate political parties watching our work and ensuring that our work remains transparent at all times, because it's very important when we manage this electoral process that we keep the process transparent to promote legitimacy of those who will be elected out of this process.
You've also assured South Africans that you won't be extending the candidate nomination system. So for those independent candidates, for political parties like the ANC, the UDM, the PAC, the ACM, who actually missed the deadline last time, 5 o'clock is the deadline this time.
5 o'clock tomorrow, the 21st of September, is the deadline for candidate nomination. They obviously have just about 26 hours to do what they have to do. They can use the candidate nomination system online, which will be far more convenient at their own offices and administrative places, and we would encourage them to use the online system. But if they do want to submit hard copies of their nominations, they can do so at the local municipality that they intend to contest.
Mr. Mazrui, take us through those very important dates. After today, it's the 26th of September, the 30th and the 31st of October. Tell the viewers what those important dates are all about.
Well, for starters, there's special votes. There's inspection of the voters' roll. Inspection of the roll closes on the 23rd. Application for special votes on the 26th, and then the submission and the finalization of candidates on the 1st of September. Will actually issue the certificates and the list of those who will contest this election.
And I mean, for those wondering what you'll be using, what voter management devices are, these are devices that have replaced the old zip code. They also eliminate the phenomenon of double voting. So I heard Mr. Mamabulo made a very important announcement saying that even if the system is offline, you'll be able to actually register, voters when they come to the polls on the 1st of November. How important is, this device, and how important is it launching it, especially under unprecedented circumstances?
It was quite a challenging environment to basically use it almost for the first time in a mass extent as we did this last weekend, and we are satisfied with its performance. Going into the election, it will assist with the logistics of elections, controlling our materials, particularly ballot papers. Secondly, it will manage the voters' roll on the day and ensure that the people who vote there are registered. But worth noting for local government is that you do not vote anywhere except where your name appears on the voters' roll where you are registered.
So lastly, I think the bone of contention, everybody is looking to the EFF. We've heard that they haven't laid a complaint as yet. When they do lay a complaint against the ANC, let's just say the ANC is found guilty, will it be disqualified within that ward, Kwatambu's? And the processes as well. Do they then report the matter to the IEC? Does this matter then get escalated to the Electoral Court? What happens?
Well, the aggrieved party has two options. They could lay a complaint with us as the Electoral Commission to make a facilitated mediation of the conflict and what happened there. They could also approach the Electoral Court and ask the Electoral Court to mete out a punishment against the party that was perpetrating the difficult situation that we observed. And in that, the Electoral Court has various possibilities of remedy, which may include disqualification, taking away a number of votes from the candidate of the party there, or saying to them, you cannot campaign in this ward. So there's quite a few things that the court would look at to mete out a remedy for the actions that were unacceptable.
Mr. Morrissey, there's a question here before I actually forget that came through from Twitter. Of course, as you know, as the SABC, we are obliged to actually, interact with our, people on social media. Also post some questions that they are interested in. This is a tweet from Gulam saying that, could you please ask the IEC if they will update their app? Because the current one only gets the national and provincial election results on the app. One cannot get local government election results on the app, and it's very difficult to get it from the IEC's website. Have you taken Gulam's consideration?
Yes, we've taken Gulam's consideration. Our plan was that we will make available the connection of that app to the results of local government. Once we have candidates in place, then we'll update that application and it will be in line with what will happen. And when we start getting results on the evening of the 1st, the early hours of the 2nd of November, we will keep on updating what's going on.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Masri. Thank you. Of course, viewers, you've heard it from the IEC officials. They're quite satisfied with the voter registration weekend that actually took place on the 18th and the 19th this past weekend. Of course, 1.7 million people had registered to actually vote in the November polls, also touching on the Constitutional Court's ruling. And just a reminder to those who still want to register to vote, you've got until tonight at midnight. For all those independent candidates and political parties that still haven't submitted their list to the IEC, they've got until 5 o'clock tomorrow, Tuesday. And of course, there won't be any extensions this time around. For those like myself, members of the media who want to apply for special votes, you can apply for special votes from today. And of course, the deadline for those special votes actually closes on the 4th of October. On the 30th and on the 31st of October, that's when people who have applied for those special votes will actually cast their special votes. And of course, the 1st of November are those hotly contested local government elections. We've seen political parties already starting to campaign. As you know, that the Minister of COGTA, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, has gazetted and proclaimed the 1st of November as the election date. And therefore, that means the voters' roll will be sealed tonight. As for me, Unati, and of course the SABC team here in Centurion, it's back to you in studio.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Natasha, giving us blow by blow there, all those numbers and all that information that you need to know ahead of these highly contested, as she said, elections that are coming up. Of course, these are government elections. Where you have to vote is where you have registered in terms of your address. So if you want to change it, you've got until midnight tonight to do so online.